Call the January 5th, 2015 regular council meeting to order. Flag salute. Council McLeod, please.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call.
Silent roll call has been taken and a quorum is present.
Okay, approval of the minutes of the December 1st, 2014 organizational and regular council meeting. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of the December 1st, 2014 organizational and regular council meeting?
So moved.
Lori, is there a second?
Second.
John, discussion? All those in favor? None opposed? Petitions, communication, citizens' request. At this time, is there anyone from the audience that would like to discuss an item that is not on the agenda? Okay, we'll move right on. The reports. I sent you guys the committee assignments, so just let me, I know Linda emailed me back. Just let me know if you guys want to, Stan, I got your email too. If there's anything else from anybody that want to change. If not, we'll keep it the way it is, and I'll just change the date and we'll send it back out. And seating too, if you guys want to change seats. I know for a year, I want to hear you being cold for a year.
Rose between two thorns.
Okay, all right. We gave her the chance, Okay, do you guys want to move after hearing that, or?
All set.
The thorns live longer, though.
You know, you look awful welcome on Linda.
It's a new year, Stan.
Standing committees, no reports, I don't think. City councilors, anybody? EJ?
Just a quick update on the food drive. I don't know if Travis, if you wanted to come up and give an update, or I can roll with what we got. Month of February, we're going to kick off our second annual food drive, Old Town Community Food Drive. Just some important dates, and we'll update everybody as we move along. February 28th, like we did last year, we'll be out in front of Hannaford collecting food from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's open to all councilors, city employees, anybody who wants to come and help. That'll be February 28th, Hannaford. We're looking at Friday, February 20th. We're working with Humane Athletics. They're encouraging their folks who attend the game to bring a can of food to help support the food drive as well. So we'll be there collecting food at the Humane Northeastern hockey game Friday the 20th at 7:30. We have a number of locations around the city for drop-off. We're working to get all the RSU schools involved. We'll firm that up this week. Any city department, City Hall, the YMCA, we're working with some local businesses to identify drop-off spots. So that'll be for the month of February. And we'll keep you guys updated on what we got. Did I get everything?
I think one thing that's kind of exciting is Casella made a $1,000 donation last year, and they reaffirmed that for this year, and they wanted to challenge other businesses to match that. So we're working on how we can get that word out to see if we can't get any other businesses, not necessarily to match it themselves, but to also make cash donations because we found that we can do a lot more with cash by actually setting up accounts at Good Shepherd Food Pantry because it's a lot cheaper, bang for the buck type what they can buy there than if we bought it at Hannaford and gave it to them. So we've worked with them, and we're setting up accounts for the 3 local food pantries as well. So it grows, and we learn more, and it'll get better year to year, I think.
And you're going to work on getting a heated tent for that day, just in case it's bad outside, correct?
At least a one-man for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. We can rotate, take turns.
We'll get him a sleeping bag so he can.
So that's the update on the food drive, and thanks to Travis, Steve O'Malley, and Dave Russell for helping out with that effort. Great community effort. And just an update on, we talked last time about the strategic planning discussion. I talked with Bill today, and we've come to the understanding we want to try and talk more about strategic planning. Bill has some information, and this is for the council. This is some nuts and bolts and some why to do strategic planning. We discussed the difference between strategic planning and the comprehensive plan and what we're doing with downtown, and realized that they're 3 separate things, but the strategic plan would be more of an opportunity for the department heads within the city to collaborate with each other and to work with the council to come up with a 3 to 5 year strategic plan. So that's a process we're going to examine moving forward with it. This information I handed out is sort of chapter 1 of the resource that we have that we hopefully will use. It's something that I found helpful the last time, or the last 2 times we've done it at the university. Step-by-step process to develop the plan, but this is more of the why we should do it. So I think if the council, if you guys could read that for our next council meeting, just to get some feedback, we'll have a further discussion to see how we want to launch into working with the various department heads, or anyone who works in the city who wants to be part of the strategic plan development. So. That is
Yeah,
where we're
and
at.
EJ and I met with Bill today about that, and Bill's going to bring it up to the department heads the next time he meets with them to see, get their feedback also. But I think this is a good, this is more of a nuts and bolts type thing that can have ideas, and having the department heads to have buy-in to what their plans are for whether it's 6 months, a year, or 3 years, or 5 years. I mean, what would fit in this? I'm just looking at Patty, would fit her the way that she wanted to do all the councils to go to the way with the agendas. That would be part of that. That's what really this type of thing is. And I think by having the department heads having a lot of voice into that would be beneficial for everybody. And we'd have a couple of councils that would be part of that also. So just to give you guys the information tonight, we'll talk about it at the committee meetings. In a couple of weeks, we'll bring it up and go from there.
Shut up. Good. That's all I got.
Anybody else? Any other councilors? Did you get all your stuff?
Yes, but is there a way that we can find out when there's a holiday on Thursday and Friday? I got beat up about the trash and the recyclables not getting picked up. And you'll see this when you're starting to work in town.
Didn't they get it?
They did get it.
But it was later in the day.
It was late in the day, but last week, it was Christmas, and the normal time that they usually pick up the trash at certain people was like 10, 11 o'clock. They came at 7 o'clock, so they didn't have the garbage out. They don't put it out at night because of the animals.
All right.
So I just didn't know if there's a better way that we could communicate that they're going to be either closed or...
Was it,
I don't know
I
where-
texted Bill,
oh,
was
there
it was it because there was a lot of cardboard from the holidays that would pushed a lot of it back, or a lot of trash?
That's probably part of it. They don't typically work on Saturdays, so I'm sure they
Had a skeleton crew?
They might have, or they might have a different crew on, so they might not make the run at the same time.
I know with mine,
I'm not trying to make excuses.
No,
for
no,
them.
no.
I'm
They
just
did
saying,
get there.
within our
Yeah.
contract,
They
it
did
says
get there.
that you put your trash out at 7 in the morning and they have to pick it up by 6 o'clock at night.
Right.
So if there's an issue with that, I can certainly contact Jim Dunning and ask him that the next time there's a holiday, can they try to maintain their routes and their times as closely as they can to what they typically run.
I do know that one of the trucks that normally had 2 people on the back only had one on that day, so I'm sure that's part of it. But it's generally, if it's a holiday, they go, whoever, like for me, I get picked up on Friday, it goes right to Saturday,
It's
no
been in
matter.
the since the ordinance has been in
Right.
existence in Old Town, that's what it is.
That's what it is,
It's
okay.
never
And it
changed.
does say to have your trash out by 7. Yeah.
And I think that night they were later at night, picking up.
Oh, when they picked up mine, it was after 5, but that, I was fine. I would have taken it to the transfer station.
Okay, so,
But I can check and see if there's some way that, they can try to maintain their routes as closely as they do, so they don't flip-flop them. I mean, I don't know if they're starting on the opposite end of what they normally do, if it's a different driver, or how they're doing that, but I can talk to them about it.
There was a tremendous
just-
amount. I think it was a
Unusual.
double whammy as
Yeah.
far
from the
as what was
holidays and
going on.
stuff, yeah.
Because, you could just ride around town and you could
Right.
see the amount of
Yeah, but-
recycling, which is great.
Right.
That was left out.
Yeah.
And very few of the trash. We only still had 1 bag of trash to put out.
Right.
And, but yeah, I think it was just overwhelmed as far as what they needed to do.
But they could have planned for that.
I agree with you, yeah, I can see that.
They probably had to go and back empty the truck a few more times.
4 more
than
times.
usual.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Maybe we can just talk to them about
Yep.
when it comes to like this holiday anyways, this past holiday. of-
Only gonna happen, I already looked in the calendar, it's only gonna happen once. It's Christmas next year, so we
Yeah.
have plenty of time to,
Okay.
You already looked ahead?
yes, I did.
We went back and forth that day a little bit, so I'm not surprised that you checked into that.
the one thing that I really appreciate is the fact they will pick it up on Friday. And nothing against the city workers or anything, but when that happened, when the city was in charge of it, they didn't get picked up. They didn't work Saturday. You had to wait at least till the following week, till your trash was picked up. So as a city living in the
Citizen.
city, I really appreciate the fact that they do it on Saturday, because it gets rid of that mess.
Right, and they probably are, I'm sure, shorthanded on a Saturday. Yeah. Good?
Yep.
Councilors, okay? City Attorney.
Just a word of primary activity last month for the city was, had to do with the Red Show bankruptcy. And as you know, we're trying to make sure that the city's personal property taxes and real estate taxes owed in Old Town were not at risk as a result of the bankruptcy sale. We were able to obtain language in the bankruptcy order that assures that.
You did a very nice job of that.
Mhm.
You and Bill. Okay, special committees. School Board Liaison, City Manager.
Ron Hammond's been working on the Jefferson Street School proposals. There's definitely going to be 2 proposals that come in. Those are due on January the 8th, and there could be a 3rd one. And basically all information to come back to the LLC to look at. I mean, they're looking at total number of units that will be proposed, description of whatever interior, exterior alterations that will be done, their financial ability, excuse me, to complete the project, whether or not units will be subsidized. I know in one case they will be, in the other case they won't be. There is a private investor that's looking to possibly develop that into just high-end apartments up there. So those will be coming to the LLC and then coming to you folks once we get the information on that. So that's kind of ongoing. Budget, talked to Miles about that. Last year we started in about 2 weeks, so in a couple of weeks we'll start rolling on that and getting some numbers initially together here. Gilmore Court, if you hear anything, anybody asking questions, there was a sewer line break out there. The sewer department had to file for an emergency dig safe, and they're probably going to be working out there tonight because there's a sewer line that's broken. So
Today?
yeah. So they're not probably in the greatest conditions out there trying to get that taken care of
Yeah.
tonight. So comprehensive plan, there's 3 direct mailings that went out, and 5 other companies have actually asked for packages, and those are due back on January 14th, so that's starting to come together. The master plan for the airport should be coming in hopefully either the next meeting or the first meeting in February. I'm planning on being gone on vacation from January 19th through the 30th. That pretty much covers all my day-to-day stuff here. I asked Jim Katsafikis to come up this evening to address you folks, and I've actually passed out to them, Jim, tonight, and I sent to them your draft memo on the Juniper Ridge landfill.
Good. Thank you.
Yep.
Good evening, sir.
Well, good evening. Thank you. It's good to see all of you. As you know, the Juniper Ridge landfill is the subject of an operating services agreement between the state and Casella, which basically allows Casella, through their entity called NewsMe, to operate the Juniper Ridge landfill for a 30-year period. That was signed in 2004. One of the requirements was that they apply for, obtain a license for, and build an expansion. The expansion that originally was sought was about 21 million cubic yards, but the state issued a public benefit determination for a smaller amount. What the state has approved in concept, they still have to license it, but in concept is that there's a public benefit in having an expansion of 9.35 million cubic yards. Now what that means is the existing capacity is sufficient to go through about 2021 through 2022 at Juniper Ridge landfill. If they are to get this, and they would like to start construction in 2018 if they can get the permits in time, they would like to have that capacity. It should get them another 10 years in addition, so 2030 2032 is probably where we would wind up. And again, it's a 30-year contract that began in 2004, so it pretty much gets them through the rest of their contract. What Casella, what the state, we're hoping to do is, and what we started in this fall, was get 4 meetings together, informal, as they call them, milestone meetings, to talk about various aspects of the project, to get the city in the room, DEP as the regulator in the room, and abutters in the room, to explain to them what's going on. Their engineers were all present, so they explained what it is they're looking at, the geology, the hydrogeology, the components, the liner system, the cover system, the leachate system, all of the things that will go into this expansion. Try to get from us our reactions, if there were any red flags, if there were any particular issues that we might have. And the city's issues traditionally have been noise, odor, litter, traffic. So they were talking about those sorts of items. They were informal meetings. They were well attended. And a great occasion to have lunch at the landfill. And and at any rate, though, it was a good opportunity to find out what's going on and how this is going to go. There are several important things, but one of the more important things is to know that they're intending to file their application in July of 2017. So July of 2015, excuse me, this year. So July of this year, they intend to file their application to DEP for the actual permits and licenses. It's probably about a 2-year process for DEP to go through before they get their permit. And then they'll come to the city. So we will be going through the DEP process. We'll be going through then the city's review process. What that means is we have about 6 months to get ready to participate in the DEP process, which is a fair amount of time. The city ordinance looks at many of the same things. The city can't be more stringent than the state in regulating solid waste and solid waste facilities. But we're looking at many of them just from a slightly different perspective because of the local concerns that we mentioned before. What would make sense, my suggestion to the council would be at this point really 2 or 3 things to look at. One of them is you will need an engineering firm to take a look at the application that Casella and Bureau of General Services file, to take a look at those aspects of it that are of importance to the city. So I think someone who's experienced in looking at landfills would be a good person to hire. The same firm might also have traffic engineering capacity. If they do, great. If they don't, you may also want to look at traffic engineers. Now, it isn't that this is going to generate a lot of additional trips that would trigger the standard DOT type of review that you'd get. But you do have a situation where the trash trucks that are operating now and will continue to operate because of the expansion have contributed to the deterioration of Benneck Road. Maybe this is an opportunity to work with the Maine Department of Transportation to try to fit this into its schedule so that some upgrade can be done. We can try, but if you have a traffic engineering on board, that capacity, that's something that will help in the review. So one suggestion is look at an engineer who can look at the science aspects of the landfill, the leachate, the cover, the odor, the noise, all of those aspects, and then a traffic engineer. So that's something that I think you'd like to look at having retained and available within the next 6 months, so that in July, when the application's filed, you can begin reviewing it and you can get some feedback from an expert on that. The other part of it is, you don't have to do this right away, but I think it makes sense to get it done now while we're all thinking about it, and that is, if the council would prefer that the planning board review this solid waste facility under the solid waste facility ordinance, this might be a good time to transfer that responsibility over to the planning board. I've put together a draft, and Bill and I have kicked it around a bit, and I can have that ready in more final form when he gets back from vacation, and that's something that the council might take up. But the idea is that this project is probably going to require planning board approval anyway for site plan because of the amount of dirt that they're excavating, the buildings that they're relocating, the square footage. These things will trigger site plan review. So let's have the same body take a look at it. And the planning board really is the body that's used to looking at development, looking at the various environmental aspects of it, more so than the council. Unless the council really wants to spend a couple of 4 or 5 hour sessions with, yeah, I understand. It makes sense to have one-stop shopping and give this to the planning board.
Bill did bring that up. at one point to us about that, and to me anyways, that made sense to
Sure.
to have that board look at it.
Right. So that would be one. Now, the thing to think about, too, is as the review approaches, the city really has two different functions in this review. The first one, you're a participant. When it's the DEP, the city has automatic intervener status because it's the host community for this landfill. And you can be reimbursed for up to $50,000 of your expert consulting and legal expenses that are generated by this application, so long as it's spent on evaluating and making your case. So you can use some of that money for your engineer, for your attorney's fees. You're then a participant. You are like the abutters, like the others commenting on the application. DEP makes the decision. So long as you are just participating in the review of that at the administrative level, there is no harm. You're not going to lose revenue under the host community agreement. If you were to be upset by what happens at DEP and decide you want to go to court, you can, but at that point, if you start appealing the DEP decision, if you go to court, you then would lose your host community agreement monies until such time as the appeals are decided. So I'm just mentioning that. I don't think there's any anticipation that we go beyond DEP participation, but I just wanted to explain the context. So you're a participant, you're a party, an intervener. We file, as soon as they file their application, we let them know. I would, for you, let DEP know that you want to, that automatic intervener status, and you want the entitlement to up to $50,000.
Okay.
So we begin that. So that's the 2-year process. Once it comes before the city, because of its ordinance, is a reviewer. The planning board then is the impartial reviewer of the application to make sure that it meets the criteria the city set forth. The city still has the opportunity to be a party if it wants to at that point, but it would get a little complicated because perhaps I would be advising the planning board taking a look at this application as impartial counsel. If the city then came in and wanted to advocate for a position as a party before its own planning board, you'd probably want to get your own attorney for the city. Well, it would get complicated, right. And I hope we don't go down that road. I think what will happen is that enough of the issues and concerns will be fleshed out and addressed in front of DEP, and the planning board certainly is a capable body that can look at the other issues as those are raised too, and you'll have consulting, perhaps, experience to guide the planning board so that when they have an issue come up, they can have peer review, probably by the same engineer, explaining why this all works or doesn't work or whatever. So anyway, there are those two different roles by the city. The one is the first before DEP as a party participant intervener, and then the second as an independent, impartial reviewer when it comes before the planning board under the city's own ordinance. So those are basically what's going on. I tried to summarize that in the
very
overall.
good.
Thank you.
Very nice.
Are there any questions that the council may have?
Any questions? Have you talked, Dave, have you talked to the planning board about any of this? Dave? Or they not know anything?
We have mentioned it, but until the council gives its blessings to Jim's suggestion, then
How was, I mean, when you said it, what was their feedback?
they're fine with it.
Okay. That was,
Yeah, it's a good board.
okay. Any questions for Jim or Dave on this, or even Bill? So it looks like no matter, like you said, we have 6 months before it starts. The engineer firm, traffic engineer, decide whether the planning board would hold the meetings. Then it looks like there would be no action by the city. It would occur in the summer or fall of 2017.
Right.
I've spoken with the solid waste committee on this too, because Ted China's on that, who's the chairman of the planning board. So during these milestone meetings, Ted did not participate in any of those. And we didn't want him there because of potential ex parte communication. We didn't want him to see any of that.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
Want to make sure that he's capable of an impartial
Right.
review, and there's no question that he's been influenced by anything
Okay.
other than what's presented before the planning board.
That
So
makes
Peter,
sense.
Peter Dufour and Ralph Leonard have been to those, but
They have.
Ted set out on those.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So what about the when we say engineer firm, traffic engineer, is there somebody that you're gonna work with, Bill, somebody you have in mind, that, or Jim or Dave, somebody that we?
Well, I mean, you know, someone who comes to mind quickly, CES, because they do all of our current landfill
Right.
work for us. I mean, there's probably other engineering firms out there we can look at, but that's somebody that instantly comes to mind, and they're well-respected and work on a lot of different landfill issues across the state, so.
They wouldn't do traffic, though.
They probably, I don't know.
They have somebody
probably
within
do
that that could do traffic?
Yeah.
Traffic, okay. Now, is there a bid process with this type of thing, or how does that,
I'd
I'll have to look into that.
have to look into it.
Okay. Well, if there's no good, this is perfect. Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming up and updating us, and
Well, thank you.
looks
So,
like we
as
have some
always,
work
it's-
to do on our end here.
Okay, and I'll have that draft in final form so that when Bill comes back from vacation, you can start the process of getting that through. Thank you very
Great.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks.
Maybe you can get it to you before vacation, give you something to read while you're gone. Anything else, sir?
That's it.
Good, okay. We'll move on to consent agenda, new business items number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Counselor Roach.
Resolve, the Old Town City Council hereby approves the suggested motions under new business items 1, 2, 3, and 4 as presented. City Council will consider making several committee appointments. Number 2, City Council will consider approval of a renewal application for a liquor license and special amusement permit for the American Legion. Number 3, City Council will consider approval of a renewal application for a malt, vinous, and spirituous liquor license for the VFW Post 3381. Number 4, the City Council will consider approval of a renewal application for a malt, vinous, spirituous liquor license and special amusement permit for the Boom House Restaurant.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Carol, discussion? All those in favor? None opposed. Public hearings and second reading of ordinances. Public hearings. The City Council will conduct a public hearing on a new application for a pawn shop license for Robert R. Modry, DBA The Pawn Shop, 284 Main Street. I open the public hearing. Someone like to discuss this item? Patty, Dave, are we good with all this?
Police chief
Didn't say anything?
objections.
Okay.
The only thing that the code office would want to do in conjunction with the fire inspector is just go and make sure the emergency lights, exit lights, but other than that, there's
We're
no
good to
issues
go.
with either department.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Questions? Close the public hearing. City Council consider approval of a new application for a pawn shop license. Councilor Nuttall.
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby approves a new application for a pawn shop license for Robert R. Moudry, doing business as The Pawn Shop, 284 Main Street.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
EJ, discussion? All in favor? None opposed. Okay, the second item. The City Council will conduct a hearing to determine if buildings or other structures located on the property at 614 Main Street constitute a dangerous building. My understanding is Patty and Eric will talk, but we're going to look for a motion to table this item until the February 2nd, 2015 meeting. Eric.
Yes, as mentioned earlier, I've been caught up in the Red Shield bankruptcy. I have not had time to give this the attention it merits and get it ready for hearing and get service on all the parties. So I recommend 30 days. That'll give us ample time to get service and hopefully actually do the hearing next time we meet on this.
Okay, so you're fine with that second then?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So if I can get a motion to table this item until the February 2nd, 2015 meeting.
Motion to table?
Stan, there's second.
Second.
John, discussion. All those in favor? None opposed? Okay, thank you. Move on to new business. Item number 5. The City Council consider ratifying a reimbursable agreement between the Department of Transportation, Federal Aviation Administration, and the City of Old Town DeWitt Field Municipal Airport for preliminary design for relocation of runway 30 PAPI and relocation replacement of runway 22 VASI. This requires advance payment of $28,671.48 to them, and all but 5%, which is $1,433, will be reimbursed. Councilor Peterson.
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby ratifies the city manager's execution of a reimbursable agreement between the Department of Transportation, Federal Aviation Administration, and the City of Old Town DeWitt Field Municipal Airport for preliminary design for relocation of runway 30 PAPI and relocation replacement of runway 22 VASI. The City Council further authorizes payment of $28,671.48 from the Airport Hangar Reserve Account 03650.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
John, discussion? All those in favor? None opposed. Last item on the agenda for tonight, the City Council consider going into executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters. Councilor May.
Resolved, the Old Town City Council hereby approves going into executive session pursuant to MRSA Title 405, Section 6A, for the purpose of discussing personnel matters.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Linda, discussion? All those in favor? None opposed? And I have the time at 7:32.